Stratfor will soon be releasing its second quarter Mexican cartel update. Here, we'll highlight three main points that are either new trends or adjustments to the old trends. First, we have signs of increased methamphetamine and heroin production in Mexico. Second, we have the potentially destabilizing rise of a new cartel. And third, a series of attacks behind enemy lines that have blurred the geographic boundaries between Los Zetas in the east and Sinaloa Federation in the west. In the first 3 months of 2012, Mexican authorities announced both the largest single methamphetamine and opium seizures in the country's history. While Mexico has long been a producer of both substances, these two seizures mark a watershed moment in the evolution of Mexican drug production capabilities. Production level on these scales indicates that Mexicans are industrializing the process of methamphetamine and heroin production. Think of this as the Mexican drug traffickers diversifying their portfolio. They are still heavily involved in cocaine and marijuana, but expanding aggressively into methamphetamine and heroin will increase profits for the cartels. The new generation Jalisco cartel, or CJNG, expanded unexpectedly and rapidly over the first quarter of 2012. In our annual assessment and forecast, we noted that the polarization of the Mexican cartel landscape was the most prominent trend in 2011 and would continue through 2012. While the Sinaloa Federation and Los Zetas continue to be the two primary antagonists in the conflict, the CJNG is potentially challenging the idea that Mexican criminal organizations fall either in the Sinaloa or Los Zetas camp. While the CJNG has traditionally assisted Sinaloa in its fight against Los Zetas, CJNG has grown so much over the past 6 months that its relationship could become strained with the Sinaloa Federation. Prior to the last quarter of 2011, CJNG reported areas of operation was isolated to areas around Guadalajara. Since then, the group has continued to expand operations in other areas such as Veracruz, Guerrero, Morelos, Colima, Guanajuato, and Michoacán states. Geographically speaking, in less than a year, CJNG has become among the most widely operating criminal groups in Mexico. This does not necessarily mean that CJNG will strike out on its own, which would add a third front to the cartel rivalries. However, their growth indicates a level of autonomy that could challenge its relationships with Sinaloa Federation in the near future. Finally, in the past quarter, we have seen a blurring of the cartel territorial geography. Whereas in the past, Sinaloa Federation and Los Zetas largely maintained their spheres of influence on the west and east coasts, respectively, both groups are now penetrating each other's territory more and more. The two rivals are increasingly using smaller organizations to conduct attacks on each other's territories. For example, Los Zetas are active in Culiacán, Sinaloa's core territory, and Sinaloa affiliates are conducting attacks in Veracruz. These attacks behind enemy lines blur the geographic battle lines as violence between the two organizations now appears in any region, including traditional strongholds.